Hello, I'm Siamecat. My New Year's resolution is to be more critical of things. Basically, to complain more. I took one step forward, but we're taking 2 steps back.
Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door released on the GameCube in 2004. A sequel to Paper Mario? That has to be amazing. And we were so right. The story opens with Peach receiving a treasure map from a mysterious person in a town called Rogueport. Peach then sends a letter to Mario asking him to help look for the treasure. When Mario arrives, Peach is nowhere to be found. The treasure is behind the Thousand-Year Door underneath Rogueport, which can only be opened by collecting the 7 crystal stars. Rogueport would definitely end up on the list of the top 50 worst cities in the Mushroom Kingdom, if you know what I mean. There are criminals everywhere, and there's a noose right in the center of town. If this were a modern Paper Mario game, that noose would probably be a paper shredder. Rogueport is the central hub of this game, and compared to the peaceful Toad Town from Paper Mario, Rogueport is the last place you would expect to explore in a Mario game. The battle system is mostly the same as the last game. Badges, jump and hammer attacks, the way level ups work, it's all here. But now every battle takes place on a stage. You get a new special move for every crystal star, but instead of these moves charging over time, the audience charges them if you pull off successful action commands. Occasionally the audience will throw things at you, or props will fall from above. These are fine, but the battle system really could have done without all this fog. The fog makes everyone have a chance to miss attacks, and it shows up way too often. The stage gimmick is overall pretty good, even if I forget it's there sometimes. Oh, the battle system was already improved from the first game. For example, partners now have their own HP, and there are some new badges. The series was named Paper Mario because the characters were 2D, not because it actually had anything to do with paper. Thousand-Year Door actually makes use of the Paper Mario name by including abilities like turning sideways and folding into a paper airplane. And you get these abilities by opening these black chests that act like the new ability you're learning is some horrible curse. Which is ironic, considering paper-related gimmicks are so often considered a curse when it comes to modern Paper Mario.
Paper gimmicks are fine for this series when they're just gameplay mechanics, but when they're the entire point of the story, Sticker Star, Color Splash, Origami King, that's when the problems arise.
Chapter 1 is a reimagining of Chapter 1 from the first game. Don't believe me? You go to a village where a Koopa partner joins you. Then you raid a fortress. The main difference between the chapters are the bosses. Paper Mario has the Koopa Bros, and Thousand-Year Door has a dragon named Hooktail. Both of these bosses are cool for different reasons. The Peach intermissions from Paper Mario 64 return, and they're just as good as before. There isn't as much variety as 64 though, because some of the things you'll be doing are repeats from 64. New to Thousand-Year Door are Bowser intermissions. Bowser has very little to do with the plot. Every intermission is him trying to find crystal stars in places Mario already found one, which are some of the most hilarious moments in the game. In some Bowser intermissions, there are even platforming levels where you play as Bowser. I wonder if this inspired the gameplay of another entry in the series. In between every chapter, you can find Luigi in Rogueport. If you talk to him, he'll tell you all about his epic quest to save Princess Eclair of the Waffle Kingdom.
Just make a Paper Luigi game already.
I like how Mario, Peach, Bowser, and Luigi are all off doing their own things in this game. Chapter 2 takes place in Bogley Woods. Bogley Woods visually is unexplainable. It's so unique that I can't think of anything that bears even a little resemblance to it. In the second half of the chapter, you'll be in charge of an army of small creatures called Punies. It's easy to lose some and have no idea where they went, so that's annoying. But the chapter has enough going for it that it's easy for me to look past that. Chapter 3 is a fan-favorite chapter. While it's not my favorite chapter, it's certainly up there. Mario signs up for a fighting tournament in Glissfield hoping to win the Crystal Star, but it's not as simple as that.
It's never as simple as that.
Fighters start disappearing out of nowhere, and you keep receiving strange emails. It turns out the manager of the fighting tournament, Grubba, is using the power of the Crystal Star to drain the energy of fighters. Everything about the mystery slowly starts to make sense as you rise through the ranks. There really isn't anything like it in any other Mario game. With all this mystery, it's easy to forget the place is floating in the sky. The battles in Glissfield have special conditions you have to meet in order to actually move up in the ranks. Some of them are easy, like appeal to the audience a few times, and some of them are dumb. It seems like some of them are designed to be impossible combined with specific fights. How are you supposed to win a fight with spike tops if you can't use your partners? And now the comments are going to tell me I could have just used Earth Trimmer or Quake Hammer. And yeah, fair point. Oh yeah, and your fighter name is the Great Gonzalez. Perfect. Chapter 4 starts in the eerie Twilight Town. where people turn into pigs every time the bell in Creepy Steeple rings. It turns out this guy in a white sheet is behind the transformations. You take him out, grab the crystal star, and end the chapter, right? Well, actually, the guy in a white sheet steals Mario's body and name, so the real Mario is now a shadow. If Mario says the guy in a white sheet's name, the curse will be undone. His name is Dubious, by the way. So you have to learn his name and find the letter P. The reason you have to find the letter P is because if you already know his name, you can do some sequence-breaking stuff. Chapter 4 subverts expectations and messes with the player in very unique ways, making it another one of the best chapters. Chapter 5 isn't quite on the same level as chapters 3 and 4, but it's still pretty good. You get shipwrecked on an island and have to escape. Oh yeah, and the crystal star is somewhere on the island too. The secret society of X-Nauts who captured Peach, and plan on using the treasure behind the Thousand-Year Door to rule the world, sent a spy on board, pretending to be a regular crew member in order to steal the crystal star from Mario. So the end of the chapter is a battle at sea. For a chapter that doesn't have a strong start, which we'll talk about later, it ends in a truly unforgettable way. Chapter 6 is my favorite chapter in the game. Most of the chapter is about solving mysteries on a train with the help of Pennington the detective. There are so many things that make this chapter special, from the well-written dialogue to the time of day changing, to just how immersive the train is. All this and more makes Chapter 6 stand out more than the others in my opinion. If you played Paper Mario 64 before Thousand Year Door, the fact that Pennington is a penguin will probably make you expect another murder mystery. The second half of Chapter 7 is cool. You explore the X-Naut Fortress on the moon. You get there by getting shot out of a cannon. I will never be able to look at this scene the same way again because of Origami King. The first half of the chapter, though. Firstly, Far Outpost is an incredibly disappointing snow area compared to Shiver City. And most importantly, General White.
A name that strikes fear in anyone who knows it.
You need to find General White to get the cannon working. General White was last seen in Petalburg from Chapter 1, which by this point you've probably forgotten about. When you get to Petalburg, you're told General White went to a southern island. So you go to Keelhaul Key, Glissfield, Bogley Woods, Twilight Town, and back to Far Outpost, where you finally find him. It's safe to say this infamous sequence of backtracking is
hot garbage.
General White is the most well-known example of backtracking in this game, but it's a relatively consistent problem throughout the game. Chapters 4 and 5 have you traveling back and forth and back and forth. At least Chapter 5 has a good dungeon after all the backtracking, but Chapter 4 is backtracking the chapter. Chapter 4 has you go from Twilight Town to Creepy Steeple, to Twilight Town to Creepy Steeple, to Twilight Town, and finally the chapter ends just getting you up to go to Creepy Steeple one more time. And don't even get me started on the time you have to go back to Keelhaul Key before you can start Chapter 6. Chapters 4 and 6 from Paper Mario 64 did have some backtracking, but it never got as bad as it did in this game. But there is still a bigger problem. The root of the problem is the level design. In Paper Mario 64's Chapter 5, the jungle area has all sorts of directions and paths to go down. In Thousand Year Door's Chapter 5, the jungle area is just a hallway made up of 6 rooms, which makes backtracking through them multiple times all the more frustrating. Areas in Chapters 1, 2, 4, 5, and 7 are all laid out like straight hallways, and it makes the level design feel more artificial than it really should, considering Paper Mario 64 already perfected it, excluding Chapter 6. If there's one thing Paper Mario 64 does better than Thousand Year Door, it's the level design. The Trouble Center is a collection of side quests. They aren't really that varied because most of them just involve talking to specific people in the right order, but the writing is so good that I still found most of them worth doing. The Pit of 100 Trials is an optional challenge with, well, 100 trials. Each trial is a battle. The problem is that it's a few hours long. I was still in near-perfect condition by the time I reached floor 50, which means the first 50 floors are just a waste of time. This game has a surprising amount of lore. The treasure behind the Thousand Year Door is not actually real treasure, but an ancient demon. The demon was sealed behind the Thousand Year Door by 4 heroes. After 1,000 years, the seal will break. Or alternatively, one could open the door early by using the crystal stars. So the new goal is to stop the X-Nauts from ruling the world with the power of the ancient demon. Also, the black chests that give Mario new abilities are actually the 4 heroes. That's a connection I don't think a lot of people made. Paper Mario 64 tells you everything about the plot before you even leave the prologue, and that's not a bad thing. It works well for that game. Thousand Year Door does the complete opposite. All the lore slowly builds up throughout the game. During the final boss, right when it seems like all hope is lost, the crystal stars send a message to everyone you met along the way, telling them to cheer you on. Is this an overdone trope in RPGs? Yeah, it probably is, but it never gets old. The GameCube was the most experimental era for the Mario series. This game had the most unique story, characters, and locations for a Mario game at the time. Mario Kart Double Dash had doubled the drivers, and there will never be a main series Mario game like Super Mario Sunshine ever again. Unless we get a sequel. So I'm glad Nintendo is getting more experimental with the Switch. Compared to Paper Mario 64, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door has lower lows and higher highs. At its worst, you'll be trying to find General White, and at its best, you'll be solving mysteries on the Excess Express or in the Glitz Pit. Oh yeah, and this game has a fantastic battle system. That's a plus.
If Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door is so great, why isn't there a sequel? I have more questions than answers.